Hi. So I'm going to talk about my experiences with Huntington's disease and uh, history and so on. So I was around 14 years old, and my mother, um, well, she'd been diagnosed previously, but I wasn't told about it. So me and my sister was like a couple of years older than me, and we were both told about it around the same time. Um, and so obviously we didn't know what it was. Um, so, but my mother had been acting strange, and see, see, I'd never, we not like neither of us had ever heard of Huntington's disease, but but our mother was getting increasingly distant and having like weird physical body movements and so on. Um, so basically, over time, um, it was quite obvious that it was quite like a weird disease, I guess, because you know, your brain just sort of stops working in pretty much every way. Um, like some of the obvious problems. Uh, well, first off, I'll try and explain what Huntington's disease is a bit. So basically, it's when you have what are known as CAG repeats, which that's I can't even pronounce this anyway, but it's like cytosine adenin, sorry, guanine repeats. So that's basically, um, so I don't know if it's fully understood what those cause fully, but through whatever mechanisms of the brain and proteins and so on in the brain being like malformed or something along those lines, it causes increasing brain damage in brain cells, and there's I think it also causes damage in other cells too, to a different degree, but it's mainly noticeable with brain issues. So basically, Huntington's disease can be passed down by the mother or by the father. Um, when it's passed from the father, it usually either lessens or it gets worse, and when it's passed down from the mother, it usually stays about the same. Um, because the number of CAG repeats changes, and in some rare cases, you can actually get Huntington's disease out of nowhere through other mutations. Um, so basically, so I'm 41 at the moment, right? So at the moment, I'm about the age uh, where the symptoms, like the early symptoms, are quite noticeable. But one of the more common names is Huntington's chorea. That's not Korea the country, but Korea, which is like uh, a word for abnormal movements. It comes from the Greek word for dance. So basically, um, so yeah, I was going off course a bit there. But anyway, so when I was 14, I was told about it and I didn't really know what it was. And I was like, oh, okay, so we can get genetic tested too, me and my sister. So, um, but like they don't do genetic testing unless in rare cases unless you're an adult anyway. So basically, I waited until I was 18. And by that point, my mother's symptoms had obviously gotten a lot worse, and I was starting to get. I mean, you obviously get very worried about that. And then when I'm 18, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get tested. For some reason, my sister didn't want to get tested yet. Um, but obviously, um, like I'm generally quite a pessimistic person, so I kind of assumed going in that I probably did have it. Um, but when I went to the Huntington's clinic, they were like, "Oh, uh, you probably shouldn't be tested when you're 18 for no reason, especially if you're not having children yet and stuff. It seems a bit weird. What's the point of being tested?" And I was like, "Well, I've got to know, right? I've got to know." So yeah, they kept telling me that I had to bring my girlfriend all the time. to all the clinic things because they were like, this is very generally emotionally stressful, so you should always make sure you bring your girlfriend. And I'm like, I don't have a girlfriend. Um, and they were like, oh, okay. And yeah, so um, one time they were like, well, maybe you don't have a girlfriend because you're like sleeping around a lot or something, but bringing somebody that you know, like a friend or something, would be helpful. I'm like, don't really want to bring any friends. I'm not even sure if I have any friends really. Um, so when but yeah, but obviously I also like was a virgin, you know. So it was very weird thing for them to say for the like professional to be like, oh, you must sleep around a lot then, mate. And I was like, huh? That was a lady, by the way. It wasn't. I don't know why I put on a more masculine voice to do that voice. It was very strange. So uh, they can't actually treat this either in any way. There's a few experimental treatments that they have. Usually, what they want to do is like lessen their symptoms in some way. Like I think the new treatment like breaks down the Huntingtonoids or something like that by using some kind of modified virus or something like that. And so they also have some other potential treatments. Like, I read that minocycline can theoretically be used, and sometimes I even take minocycline because I have really bad skin. And minocycline is actually supposedly in mice. There was a trial with mice where minocycline worked quite well. And yeah, but supposedly they tested it on humans later on, and they didn't see anything. But I find that it does help a little bit, but it's a very marginal benefit. I think it is slightly easier to think more clearly if you have Huntington's disease and you take minocycline, but maybe it's like 5% benefit, so it's probably not like maybe like a bigger dose would help more. I don't know. I only take half a dose anyway of the minocycline, so maybe if I took a full dose, I'd notice more. But I've never taken a full dose because I find it like really dries out my skin way too much, and it's unpleasant. Um, so but yeah, so basically they told me that I couldn't be tested, but they still wanted me to go to the clinic like annually just to talk to them about it, just in case, um, so they could like tell me stuff, like, oh, you shouldn't get tested because you're too young, you know, get a you know, get a mortgage and a wife and then get tested so you know if your kid's gonna have Huntington's disease first. And so I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. So I went back there every year, and they just told me I was too young to be tested still. And they said, like, okay, you're probably just gonna unalive yourself anyway, right? Roblox yourself in Minecraft. Um so I basically but but not knowing and like thinking about it way too much and stuff really didn't help me when I was supposed to be doing like college and things like that, because I did quite badly just because I was overly concerned about it. um and like I was already very anxious about talking to people, and it just made me more anxious. And especially as I got older, I started blaming like basically every negative behavior trait on Huntington's disease, even though like many of them probably had nothing to do with it. But in many cases, I think actually a lot of them did have a lot to do with Huntington's disease. So yeah, but yeah, it does generally, like pretty much everybody with Huntington's disease has a really terrible mood, and they're kind of impulsive, and they're bad at making decisions, and they're you know kind of slow, and um they have the erratic career body movements and so on. And at this point, I don't have the career stuff. The career stuff's kind of the problem because that's when your body movement starts failing you and you start having. Because at the moment, I tend to eat and drink stuff way too quickly anyway, and I get like I get some food or some drink down my like down the wrong passageway and stuff, and you know, so that's quite common with Huntington's disease, but it's just probably because I was always brought up being told that I ate and drank too slowly, so I just try and do it way too quickly. So I usually finish eating and drinking well before everybody else as a grown adult. Um, and yeah, that's not good for me, especially because um, I'm probably, you know, gonna get pneumonia from it at some point. But because, you know, if but it's okay. So yes, obviously they don't have any actual treatments for this because usually everybody with Huntington's disease is really depressed, so they give them SSRIs. And if they have erratic movements, they can give them antipsychotics, and that will zonk them out so that they're less difficult to deal with for carers or nurses or whoever, because then they can't jump around everywhere if they're on antipsychotics because they basically just like make your muscles not work. So you just lie there still, and they can put you on a feeding tube or whatever, and watch YouTube and not do anything. Um, so uh, yeah, so but basically they did let me get the test eventually when I was about 21. Um, and like it was positive, obviously. Uh, so yeah, and that made me very like, oh shit, I'm gonna be a burden, and I'm gonna be like, uh, you know, I was just really worried about, because at this point I still like not really had a girlfriend or anything like that. So, um, so I was like, oh, I'm just kind of fucked. But, um, but yeah. So I mean, my life did it get pretty good. I mean, I got pretty good job. I got relationship. I got like, um, everything sort of worked out not too badly, really. Throughout most of my life. I mean, um, so I had a kid, and then we did do a genetic test, Huntington's genetic test for the kid, and and that was all clear. So like the kid doesn't have Huntington's disease. So so yeah. Uh, so I'm kind of running out of things to talk about. Actually, I thought I was going to ramble on for ages about this, um, but you know, so at the moment they have like a couple of things in trial. Hopefully it's kind of awkward because they're only going to have marginal benefits. Um, anyway, like they make it sound like it's going to be like miracle cures, but at the moment the treatments that we have don't really do anything, and then like the ones that are coming in, if they work, which they might not, um, they're gonna have marginal benefits. Um, so we're still quite a way off from like an actual proper cure. Um, but yeah, so it's kind of like in a sense it's too late for me because like by the time they have a cure, it will be too late for me to be treated with it. So like I'm basically like there's just nothing that can be done at this point for me. All I can do is like take stuff to try and alleviate the symptoms a bit, but I don't really want to take antipsychotics and I don't really want to take SSRIs. At the moment, I'm just sort of like not taking anything except for minocycline sometimes, which does, I think, help a little bit, but not a huge amount. I think nicotine actually helps a reasonable amount as well. Uh, but not that I'm recommending that. I'm not actually recommending nicotine, okay? So don't take nicotine unless you already do. But I think it helps a little bit because it keeps your brain ticking. I think nicotine helps your brain tick on a bit quicker. Like kind of like caffeine's good too. Like I think I think caffeine actually makes some of the symptoms less bad because it just keeps your brain going, um, which is what you want. Because I think your brain misfiring is kind of the problem with Huntington's, right? So if you've got stimulants and things and keep your brain going, then it's not quite as bad, but it's kind of like it's like an engine, right? There's not much. I mean, after a certain point, there's not much you can do. You can keep like putting the best petrol in it, But if it's really fucked, then it doesn't matter at that point. Um, so like I do think things like diet and stuff helps a lot too. Like I think like my mother's diet wasn't great. Not a lot of like nutrition and things like that, and she didn't take multivitamins or anything like that either, or drink much like juice and stuff. I mean, she had orange juice, but it wasn't very good orange juice. Um, so I think like when I was a kid, her diet was not great. And I think like having a better diet always helps. I think a better diet always helps with um, like most issues. I think if you're depressed, like if you have a slightly better diet, you won't feel quite as bad. But like the difference might be small, but also like exercise, I think always helps as well. Um, and you can do things to try and improve your mindset, like try and be mindful of how you're thinking about things. Not mindful in the like modern hippie sense, new age sense, but like just be like try to be self aware and cognizant of how you think about things. Because I think you can like train your brain to think about things in a slightly better way. It's so easy to get into a very negative headspace, and I think like if you try to work against that, like if you really think like, oh, how am I thinking about everything? I think you can improve things. I think that goes for most. Uh, like if you feel bad, you can usually think your way out of it. That's my recommendation. I think it works better than pills. Okay, like if you take pills, it still works a bit. But if you train your brain to think better, that works a lot better. Um, so um, yeah. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. Uh, I've been thinking about live streaming, but I actually don't have any real like. I'm kind of scared of live streaming, so I might do it eventually at some point. But I'm also going to keep uploading videos anyway, even though I'm like not expecting to get more than like 10 views on each video on YouTube, because I like in the modern world on YouTube, I think the chances of the algorithm picking up my videos is very slim. Um, but I do like making videos. Uh, I have lots of ideas for videos, and I don't have like. Also, I'm a software developer, right? So I have like let's talk about that. Actually, that's a good idea. While I'm still actually recording. Um, so I'm a software developer, and it's kind of hard to think when you have Huntington's disease, and you kind of need to think when you're a software developer. And but there's pros and cons because I think in a way, because I'm quite active when I'm quite actively using my brain quite a lot, and I still write quite a lot of software. Um, and I don't really use AI to do it, and it does often require a lot of like thought about how it should work and things, and trying to and things. But I find that my memory is quite bad, and my visualization is like I think if you want to be a really good software developer, you have to be really good at visualizing, and if you're not like a lot of I think the impression I get from most software developers is that they have no ability to visualize anything at all. Maybe the NPCs, I don't know, but I think if you like the best are always really good at visualizing, and they're really good at like think like basically like almost running the program like the software in their head first, and then writing the code for it. Um, and it's hard to think that hard, especially like because my brain feels like it's like in gravy the whole time. So, um, but yes, if if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll answer them. I think that uh, I'm kind of at the end of the video now, and I just can't think of anything else to talk about at the moment. I mean, I think I mentioned everything. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I'll start getting Korea soon. But obviously, my mood's quite bad. It's kind of like being drunk. I think having Huntington's disease is like being drunk. Because being drunk makes your brain not work properly. It's because the alcohol impairs your ability to do anything with your brain. It just sort of stops working properly. And Huntington's disease is like that all the time, but not fun. Um, yeah. And also everybody with Huntington's disease. Well, not okay, not everybody, but like everybody with Huntington's disease is super depressed usually. So, um, whether that's just a symptom of Huntington's or whether that's caused by like knowing that you're gonna be infirmed in such a degree, and um, but yeah, so like it's quite common for people to Roblox themselves and things. Um, so yeah, but yeah, it definitely makes you. Oh, it says egocentrism is very common. Reduced display of emotions, anxiety, aggression, compulsive behavior. I think I have all of those. Mania? I don't think I have any mania. Um, but yeah. So obviously, like, it seems bad, but like, it's not that bad because some people have a way higher number of repeats, in which case they'll get Huntington's disease when they're very young. So some people have these things happen to them when they're very young, and they get the Huntington's career when they're very young, so they have like very little control of their body when they're very young, and then they just you know, so that sucks way harder than what I have. So um, so there's like yeah, you tend to get okay. See, I didn't know about this. Is what wasn't told to me. Like when I was learning about Huntington's disease originally, I didn't see much stuff about the um Huntington cell issue because there's like there's a lot of problems with cells not functioning correctly and stuff. So you get like atrophy and stuff. And I assumed that was maybe I'm misunderstanding because like I assumed that was atrophy because like if you're not moving much, especially if you're on antipsychotics or whatever, and you're just sort of stuck on a chair, then you're gonna have atrophy and things. But like I think like based on like things I read now, it all talks about how common it is um to have lots of like muscle atrophy and like osteoporosis and things like that. Um so I didn't really know about that originally. So but yeah, basically Huntington's gives you like pretty massive behavior issues and you can't control your body. That's the summation of it. And it just keeps getting worse. It never gets any better. And you can't treat it. So all you can do is take antipsychotics and yeah. So I'm trying to think if there's anything to talk about. There might really must be something else to talk about. Uh, I don't know. The good thing, I mean, at the moment at least, like, I haven't been finding work that hard. I think my behavior's gotten worse, but I don't think, like, my ability to do my hard coding sort of work, like, it's definitely harder for me, but it's not impossible. And I find that, like I said, other coders who I've worked with, like, I don't think they were ever as good at as I was at my peak. So the fact that I'm not at my peak anymore isn't all that bad, and I think I could still outcode all of them. And I think they all use AI for everything now, and yeah. So I think like I think I might be the only coder left in the world. It's just me. Everybody else is using AI. Anyway, Um. Oh yeah. Ask me questions. Ask me questions in the comments if you have any at all. But yeah. So these days I just watch VTubers and I mostly stay indoors and try not to talk to people too much because I just don't think my behavior is that great. So I just like I try not to bother people too much. You know what I mean? Anyway, um okay, so ciao.